We've been the innovators. We've been the investors. We've been the operator. We've been in your shoes. So we want to see things advance.
They're a group that really gets behind management teams and helps them build out their business plan as if they were part of the company itself.
We can understand how to deploy precious resources and multiply them and get results. And yes, there is a function of consultancy and advisory, but at the end of the day, what is a better description is the notion of partnership.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Be in the Know, Table Games and More. I'm your host, Benny Mancino, sometimes known as the B-Man, and it's my pleasure to have somebody I've followed for many years on the program. This guy's got more flyer miles than anybody I know. He crosses, when you ask somebody, well, what's it like gaming in here or gaming there across the world? This guy's really going to tell you honestly because he's been there. Stephen, Crystal, welcome to Be in the Know.
Great to be here, Benny.
So Stephen, tell me a little bit about, I always ask somebody, how do you get in the world of gaming? I mean, we all had our past a little bit different. Tell us about yours.
Well, mine goes back 35 years, Benny. I had just moved to Kansas City, Missouri to begin a legal career. And my expertise at that time was in land use. It was also the same time that Missouri had adopted riverboat gaming legislation, and I was the guy that public companies would go to get a legal opinion that said they could use a given piece of real estate for a riverboat. And that's initially how I got into the industry. As a lawyer representing the industry, I was part of getting the legislation passed and helping guide the initial developments throughout the state of Missouri. So it started back in 1992.
Wow, that was exciting. I think the max bet was $5 or something back then on them river boats. It was crazy.
Well, they had boarding time, so you had to go on the riverboat for 2 hours, and then you had to depart the riverboat after 2 hours, and then come back on the riverboat. And initially, they were supposed to cruise, but they determined that the river was too dangerous. The Missouri and Mississippi were too dangerous. So these riverboats initially were docked they were moored to the bank. And then eventually, over time, they pumped river water inland to create basins. And they would, in essence, build land-based facilities adjacent to the river. That's how things evolved throughout the Midwest.
So tell us, how did you get into the Las Vegas market? I know you... I guess entered about 25 years ago. You entered the Las Vegas market?
Yeah, we in addition to helping some of the initial riverboats, I joined an investment group that became Kansas City Station. So we were the landlords. We put up the money for the real estate and we leased it to Kansas City Station, who built a $500 million complex. When stations left Missouri, Ameristar purchased their interest and bought us out of our real estate position. And we used that capital back in 2000 to put down the earnest money on acquiring Jackie Gaughan's casinos in downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street. So we moved our operations from Kansas City and set them up in Las Vegas in 2001, right after 9/11. And in 2004, we took over ownership of 6 hotel casinos in downtown Vegas and 7,500 employees, 2,500 hotel rooms, 250,000 square feet of gaming. So it was a big enterprise that took us through the 2000s as we helped to redevelop the famous Fremont Street district.
And I think you still have a special place in your heart for Fremont Street, don't you?
Look, I lived in one of the properties. I lived in the Vegas Club. I used to get up at 4 in the morning and I would walk the casinos that went from one end of Fremont to the other. Yeah, I mean, for me, that was, I was in my 30s. I was felt I was at the top of where I was in the industry. Little did I know that it was just the beginning of a journey that would take me around the globe. But yeah, I have a fondness for working in downtown where it all started for gambling in America.
Well, you seem to have as all major players in the gaming market, a vision. You're a visionary. You don't discount any proposition or some idea that somebody has. And now you've turned that into a business where, if I understand it right, you help emerging gaming companies become whatever they're going to become. And it seems like more than just, a consultancy. You actually, you take a personal interest in every client.
Yeah, I mean, look, we started in the industry as innovators and investors. I remember investing in some of the early electronic table game companies like DigiDeal and TableMax. I remember investing in some of the smart shuffler companies like ShuffleTech out of Chicago. And I remember selling these companies or exiting these companies either to the public markets or to companies like IGT. I was always about looking for innovation, looking for ways to create more efficient operations, looking for ways to leverage brick and mortar casinos into different digital forms of gambling, looking for ways to leverage data and customer experience. And so, yes, from the very beginning, I started more as an entrepreneur. And then over time, as I accomplished a lot of my objectives as a casino owner and investor, I wanted to give back. And more than that, I wanted to really do what I do in America around the globe. And so when online gaming and sports betting opened up in America in 2018, and then COVID came shortly thereafter, it was an opportunity for me to do something I'd never done before, which was to be, in essence, the connector between the global gambling industry, which is significant, and what was happening in America, a huge expansion of gambling through sports betting and online gaming. And that resulted over time in us representing and partnering with hundreds of brands, some of them emerging, in different areas of the ecosystem around online gaming, some of them established companies that just were looking for, emerging market expansion. And now we're operating in 11 countries, 6 continents, over 30 employees, representing hundreds of the top brands in the world. It wasn't a business I was seeking to establish, but it was a way for me to take 30 plus years of experience and really share that with other brands, B2B and B2C, that wanted to, in essence, take advantage of a global marketplace for gambling.
Well, it's amazing, how technologies change over the year. I don't know, you remember video reels came out and nobody would play them, right? And then the iPhone came along, people started playing Candy Crush. And then now all you see in the casinos is video reels. And people come out with ideas all the time, and they just don't know how to get them to the forefront. They don't know how that happens. And with your experience, you provide opportunities for people who realistically wouldn't have a chance otherwise. Am I reaching, or is that true?
It is true. I mean, one thing that's known, particularly in America, and it's also true in Europe and other, emerging markets like Latin America and Africa, is that the leaders in markets don't tend to be the innovators. They are companies that have consolidated their position, and they are likely to be acquirers of the next best idea. And so innovation occurs with entrepreneurs, people with ideas and dreams and passions. And obviously, over 35 years, we've gotten better about picking the right ideas and helping to leverage our experience and get those ideas into reality in the marketplace. And people ask me, what is the key? Is it the idea? And it isn't always the idea, although we do have a vision about how to bring things forward in the industry. It's almost always about the people. This is what I've learned, Benny. It's about the people. And if I've become an expert over 35 years, employing thousands of people, investing tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in our industry, at the end of the day, it comes down to the people. And so if you really want to know the business I'm in the people business, and trying to pick the right horses, so to speak, who I think can run and win the race.
Well, relationship, everybody says relationship trumps talent in the long run. So let me ask you some questions. Now today you're coming to us from Amsterdam, where you're at the iGaming business event there.
Yes.
So the iGaming industry in Europe and South Pacific and all these other areas, it doesn't seem to it seems to live very well with the brick and mortar casinos. I don't see like a piranha effect like you're seeing in the US. It appears now we've got to remember we're a very, very young market here as far as iGaming. What I think are maybe seven jurisdictions now that has iGaming. But it does seem like, like if you look at Pennsylvania, a huge iGaming market, and it's really dug into some of the brick and mortar table games business, especially. What differentiates the one side of the world from the United States as far as iGaming is concerned, in your opinion?
Look, America, it's gambling industry, 50, 60 years old. It had, of course, the original presence in New Jersey and Las Vegas, Nevada. And then you had expansion with Riverboats and tribal gaming. Now we have hundreds and hundreds of casinos in 42 states across America. We have sports betting, either retail or mobile, in close to 30 states. We have iGaming in 4 or 5 states, depending upon how you define it. What I would say, when I got into brick and mortar casinos, I started going every year to the ICE gaming show in London, which I watched move from a brick and mortar focus to a digital focus. It was about 15, 20 years ahead of America. And so when iGaming got approved in America in 2018, I was ready. I understood the technology. And I also knew one day, given the size of the American market, in terms of innovation, America will surpass the rest of the world, as it does in many areas. But initially, it needed the expertise of Europeans and companies from Latin America and elsewhere to teach them how to do the right platforms, how to connect the brick and mortar to the digital, how to provide a good customer experience. I am of a firm belief, and the evidence is in, Benny, that given the strength of the products and the offerings for digital, it is not cannibalistic. In fact, both can exist harmoniously. We just haven't mastered the technology yet. But when we do, we will have a vibrant brick and mortar casino environment, as we do, tying casinos to local customers and destination resorts in some cases. And we will have a vibrant digital experience. In the rest of the globe, they don't have the benefit of having the type of casino infrastructure that we have. So they only have the use of digital. And in some countries, like let's take India or parts of Asia, their technology is so focused on smartphones that there isn't even a thought of brick and mortar casinos, except now we're seeing huge integrated resorts come to places like Japan, Philippines, Singapore, and Macau, of course. The list goes on. So what I would say to you is we have a lot to learn from the rest of the world, which is why I travel the world as I do. And eventually the rest of the world is going to have a lot to learn from America, just as they have on the brick and mortar side, where we've innovated in areas like your expertise, table games. We've exported a lot of that across the globe, and we've also imported we have suppliers now, and you know who they are, whose technology came from Eastern Europe, electronic table game technology, for example. So I think what you're going to see is that eventually the gaming industry is going to be interconnected, whether it's brick and mortar or digital. we're going to have one marketplace. So MGM will be as effective in Asia as it is in America, Caesars, and you could go down the list. You're going to see an internationalization of our industry and a globalization of our industry, just like that as has happened in other industries.
Now, do you think as far as brick and mortars that are standalones without an iGaming presence, are they going to struggle in the future?
I think the issue for them is to find a connection to the future audience. I mean, let's be real. The person, playing dollar craps or pulling the one-armed bandit, so to speak, that's getting an older demographic, and businesses need to find a younger audience. Digital gaming is a way to find a younger audience and connect them to the brick and mortar casino. So when I work with tribal gaming operators or regional operators, I work with them on strategies that use digital, whether it's social casino, sweepstakes casino, whether it's skill-based gaming. Use digital strategies to connect people to what you can offer them in your brick and mortar casino, so that you can create as vibrant a brick and mortar environment as you can a digital environment. We cannot ignore the fact that young people like to experience the world via their smartphone. That's a fact.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, and especially price points that can be offered on an iGaming device versus, when I was in Pennsylvania, I could play 10-cent single zero roulette on the MGM site, and I couldn't have no way near afford to have that game in the brick and mortar. And that brings me to my next topic is labor. I mean, the labor is such a concern for me as a table games operator that I know the two can gel together. As you said, I think that like feeding off, like you could have, you could qualify online for a brick and mortar tournament or vice versa, and really commingle the two efforts into one really good thing. But like I said, I do have my fears about the labor market and like I said, the price point coming in.
Look, Benny, the jobs are going to be different. We cannot turn back progress. We have AI, machine learning. We have automation. You have the ability, for example, to play a physical slot machine on a floor of a casino, or to take a position at a physical table and you can basically stream that position remotely. So we can have inventory management. Our brick and mortar casino can have 100% perfect inventory management. That leads to efficiency. It leads to more revenue. And the question you have is what happens to the labor? And it's the same question that's playing out in other industries as AI has come in and automation has come in. The jobs are just going to be different, Benny, and they may even be better. Obviously, that means we have to train the workforce to do those jobs, whether it's data analytics or it's providing an oversight to these automated and AI-driven tools. But the jobs will be different. They may even be better in most cases, but we cannot ignore the fact. We can't bury our head in the sand and say, oh, please don't make it happen. Look at electronic tables, near and dear to your heart. It's now 30, 35, 40% in some cases of the table game inventory are fully electronic tables that can give lower denomination play to people who don't want to pay $50 a hand or who can't afford to play $50 a hand. So I would say that technology is good. Innovation is good. I don't worry about labor force because ultimately the labor force will reflect the roles that we have to fill.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I can see, the new jobs creating an environment which, most people are looking for, some more home time, family time. Maybe these jobs don't require the amount of hours per week that we're normally doing in a brick and mortar casino. So it's going to be interesting, Stephen. And I know you're the guy that's going to be right on the trail of this new emerging casino industry. So tell us, how can somebody get a hold of you?
Look, we're SCCGmanagement.com is our website. If you want to learn about the technology that we're working with, some of the companies and brands, you can basically see a virtual, a showroom of offerings at SCCGmanagement.com. And we're very approachable. People reach out to me all the time with new ideas, with investment potential, with companies that need help globally. So I would say just reach out and we'll be there.
Very good. I know you're very accessible. Anytime I've ever messaged you or something, you've been right back to me, and it just amazes me with your kind of schedule that you do that. But that's what makes a difference in this world. Like you said, it's all about relationships, and that's going to drive all businesses in the future.
Benny, I came into the industry. I was mentored by Dave Barrick, who was my partner in Barrick Gaming when we had the downtown casinos. Dave said every day we would return anybody who reached out to us. We would return their call. We weren't so important. He said the next best idea, the next opportunity comes out of returning those calls. And so I teach that to the young people working with us. We're not so important. We're not so busy that we can't take care of our business on a daily basis and reach back out to people who reach out to us. So that's just a basic value that we hold dear, particularly in this industry.
Oh, you're saying the gospel there. I mean, paying it forward and knowing that everything matters just makes so much difference. So, Stephen, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Be in the Know. And I'll put a link to your website and some other information about you in the details below. So remember, folks, subscribe, share, let everybody know. Be in the know. That's where you got to go. Thanks, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Benny.